Should someone have to have a government-issued license to drive a car?
Hell no.
What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster?
The license to drive? You know, I'd like to see some competency exhibited by people before they drive.
Libertarianism, America's favorite political sideshow. While they're often looked at as just a fringe group of political whack jobs who think that the road to Stalinism is paved with driver's licenses, the truth is their ideology is much more influential and dangerous than you probably realize.
Oh God, brace yourself, folks. We're off to a good start on a guy that totally knows what he's talking about. No, we fucking aren't.
Because libertarianism isn't so much a political philosophy as it is a religious ideology.
Whoa, slow down there, Matt LIEb. That isn't true at all. Statism is religion, not libertarianism, statism. I mean, come on now. You think the political party / philosophy of minimal government would be a religion and not statism, which is maximal government? Or bloated government controlling your lives? I mean, come on now, be intellectually honest.
Where the Lord and Savior is pure, unadulterated capitalism. Invisible hand of the free market, take the wheel.
And what's wrong with fucking capitalism? Also, the invisible hand is just a concept, you know, a metaphor for the market regulating itself, for everything automatically falling into place due to people following their self-interest and contributing to the economy. It's not, you know, something that really takes the wheel, in a sense. I mean, the invisible means not concrete leadership, invisible hand, like not direct, you know, super, you know, bureaucratic leadership, and the hand means, well, leadership. But come on now. Once again, you're being intellectually dishonest. Oh, it's NewsBroken, right? As in broken arguments made by broken people. Hence, NewsBroke. It's news, but it's bullshit that's broken, so news broke.
American libertarianism is the idea that government is evil and needs to be dismantled.
Actually, the whole government must be dismantled thing is more of an ANCAP thing. You know, my kind of thing. But that's pretty on point, actually. And unfortunately, it'll be, like, the only thing that's on point, pretty much. Well, maybe a few other things, but seriously, this guy's dumb.
Libertarians don't see society as a collective. They instead champion radical individualism. They see the free market as a force for absolute good and government as solely a corrupting force.
Once again, more of an ANCAP thing to see the government solely as a corrupt influence. I mean, libertarians want minimal government, ANCAPs want no government, but that's pretty on point too, and the free market is for good. At least for the most part, because guess what? It's completely voluntary. It's the free market, okay? Free, as in freedom, not free stuff, but freedom. Buy and sell as you please, free market. And how can you have radical individualism? It's like, oh my god, it's so radical that people get to do what they want as long as they aren't hurting anyone. Ooh, radical. Can't have that. Come on.
One of the primary ways they express these beliefs is by shrieking about taxes constantly.
Taxation is theft.
Taxation is theft.
Taxation, quite frankly, is theft or armed robbery or extortion.
That's because taxation is theft, and since you didn't consent to it, it's done by force. I mean, come on. Don't pay your taxes, get in trouble, alright? Taxation is theft. The reason why libertarians are shrieking about taxes constantly is because it's theft, and it's really unjust, and it needs to get taken care of. We weren't shrinking for nothing. I mean, I was once libertarian, but now I'm an ANCAP, which can fall under libertarianism, only not the Libertarian Party. So look, the point is, ANCAPs and minarchists are shrieking taxation is theft, because it is. I mean, you're taking money by force, and even if you give something back, hey, guess what? It's still done by force. Theft.
Yup, taxes are just like robbery, except instead of taking your television away, they take your trash away. Which is nice. It's nice.
Yeah, taxation is robbery, okay? It's just not done by a masked thug, okay? It's done by an IRS agent or the police, okay? Taxation is theft. Also, your trash can be taken away by a private company, but you wouldn't know that since you hate the free market so much and think the government has to do everything.
Sure, paying taxes doesn't feel good, but once you factor in all the bridges and schools and firefighters and roads and whatnot, it does seem like kind of a fair trade.
Once again, free market, those services, the fire department, bridges, roads, schools, you mentioned, whatever, that can be provided by the free market, okay? We don't need coercion to provide stuff, which is what taxation is. Theft, coercion, extortion, no matter how you put it, it's involuntary and it's wrong. Fair trade my ass.
But don't you dare mention roads to libertarians.
Ah, the old who will build the roads. Roads, roads, roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
No, seriously, we need roads.
And private companies will provide those roads. You can get a bill in your mail to pay for using the road. You can get a toll booth to pay for using the road. You can get billboard companies that advertise on the side of the road to pay for the road. You can get shipping companies that use the road to pay for the road. You can get vehicle companies to make cars and people drive on the road in the first place to pay for the road. There are options to pay for the fucking roads, other than taxes. Also, the businesses that the roads go past can pay for them too. You don't get this? Of course.
Libertarians have an almost cult-like adherence to the idea that government is bad and the free market is God. I mean good. I mean God.
Government is bad. Anarchists want to get rid of it completely. Anarchists want to shrink it down. The free market is good. And maybe in a sense it is God since it's so much better than government and it's the best. But, come on now. You're just talking shit.
The free market can solve the problems of the environment.
When it comes to healthcare, what we need is a real free market approach to healthcare.
The Thanksgiving feast came because they had private property rights and they had free markets, and that's how we will take care of the poor.
And lo, the burning bush said unto Moses, don't worry about paying taxes, my dude, for the invisible hand of the free market will take care of everything. And yea, the bush soon became a forest fire and burned down Moses' village because there were no taxes and thus no firefighters.
Ever heard of a voluntary fire department, which is voluntarily staffed and voluntarily paid? Also, there are privatized fire departments, voluntarily funded, staffed, paid for. That's a thing. I don't see why you need your taxes to have a fire department. I don't see why if there weren't taxes there wouldn't be a fire department, but as you say, but whatever, you know, you're using logical fallacies constantly, so not a big surprise.
So what would a completely free market approach to healthcare look like, according to Gary Johnson, who was ultimately selected as the Libertarian nominee for president?
We would have health insurance to cover ourselves for catastrophic injury and illness, and we would pay as you go in a system that was very, very affordable. We would have stitches are us. We would have gallbladders are us. We would have x-rays are us.
Gallbladders are us? Hey, are you tired of those leaky gallbladders that you have to swap out every 6 months like a common windshield wiper? At Gallbladders R Us, we guarantee a leak-free bladder for only $19.99. That's right, I said $19.99. I must be crazy. People were like, wow, I didn't even know gallbladders could be that cheap. But they can't be because they're made out of plastic. We also got dogs.
I really don't get what's up with this tangent he goes on, considering if you had privatized healthcare, you'd be offered all sorts of things. Besides gallbladder transplants, if that even exists. I mean, you'd be provided everything, with everything public health care gets you, plus more, since it's, well, it's privatized, it's more efficiently funded by the consumer rather than by tax dollars. So with this whole infomercial, you know, blurb, mockery, tangent he goes on, I really don't get what he's saying, what he's trying to say. Well, I don't see any sense in it. I mean, privatized healthcare is a good thing. It's better, you know, you don't have this universal one-size-fits-all crap going on. It's so much more efficient and effective than public healthcare. So, what are you saying, LIEb?
Okay, but what about poor people or old people who can't afford organs from Gallbladders R Us? Like, how would libertarians help them?
How many people in here, and I actually do want a show of hands, love grandmas? How many of you would donate money to feed grandmas? I do not see a single person that did not raise their hand. That's how you fund Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare.
And as for grandpas, them.
They didn't only say grandmas. I mean, well, they didn't only mean grandmas. They meant voluntarily funding anyone who needs something. Not through taxation, which is involuntary. Remember that. Just voluntarily taking money out of your own pocket and giving it to those in need. They weren't just saying, oh, only grandmas, fuck grandpas, as you say, Matt LIEb. They meant anyone. So, grandmas was just an example, and you're just creating a false narrative. So, that's on you.
There's a kind of charming, faith-based optimism when it comes to the way that libertarians view private enterprise and human nature. Scary and delusional, but charming.
Actually, it's rather interesting when statists such as yourself have so much faith in the state. You know, monopoly on force, can get your money by force rather than voluntary interaction, like a company would. And you think libertarians are whack jobs for thinking the free market does a better job meeting needs voluntarily than a fucking government? I mean, come on now. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't hold any water to ridicule people who have faith in the free market, but to pump up people that support the government. It just doesn't make any logical sense.
Just listen to Libertarian candidate John McAfee's reasoning when explaining why we don't need government-funded social programs, because we can rely on each other.
None of us are going to pass a child drowning in a river, even if we're dressed in a tuxedo heading to our wedding. Libertarianism is not heartlessness. It's the opening of the heart to your neighbor.
Oh, speaking of neighbors, true story, John McAfee was wanted by police in Belize in connection to the murder of his neighbor, so he's sweet.
Once again, libertarianism is about voluntarily funding and voluntarily helping your neighbor. You still don't get this. And also, you don't need to fund things by taxes based on that. As for, you know, John McAfee being wanted for murder, that's not the important thing. What the important things are his arguments. That's what matters. Whereas you're just like character assassinating, something like that. In a libertarian society, or even an ANCAP society, bad things are still free to happen. People can still harm each other, and companies can still be shitty. But the thing is, it's a lot less bad when it happens in those societies than in the state society, because there's no state to prop up the companies when they fail, and bad people are easier to punish in a monarchy or an anarchy than in a state-run, really efficient, you know, oppressive, bureaucratic law system. Also, you don't need taxes to fund things, as I keep saying. You fund them voluntarily, whether through donations or customer contract. And yet, you still don't get this. It's sad, but hey, you're a statist, so you're sad.
The idea that we don't need laws because people will do the right thing anyway, or that we don't need taxes because people will fund important things anyway, or the idea that we don't need regulations because companies will be ethical anyway, none of that is born out of any statistics, historical precedent, or any other evidence of any kind. It's the same kind of faith-based thinking as Santa is real or Ted Cruz is human, and not just someone wearing a Bat Boy mask that got melted in a microwave.
You don't think history supports the free market, and you don't think people voluntarily associating is supported by history either. Huh, that's kind of weird. And also, comparing libertarianism to Santa Claus, that's pretty cringy. And as well as making fun of Ted Cruz, you know, saying his face looks like something melted in a microwave, you know, mask. Well, I could say you look like a Grand Theft Auto NPC. I mean, you do. So, if you want to get into insults, how about that?
While libertarians might be anti-driver's license, anti-Medicare, and anti-public roads, the flip side of being so rigidly anti-government is that they also end up being anti-NSA, anti-interventionist, and anti-drug laws, which appeals to people on the other side of the political spectrum. In fact, the common elevator pitch for libertarianism is that while fiscally conservative, they're also socially liberal.
Those organizations you listed fucking suck. The NSA spies on you through data mining. Foreign intervention leads to, you know, just a bunch of war and destruction and nothing really getting done. And the war on drugs leads to a violent black market as well as an expanded police state. How could you not notice? The war on drugs sucks. It's cost over $1 trillion. And drug use has increased through it, not decreased. I mean, oh god, this state is just getting on my nerves.
I believe in a world where gay married couples can protect their marijuana fields with fully automatic machine guns, baby. Oh yeah.
Yay! Wait, hold on, why do we need machine guns if weed is legal? Oh, it's the world's more dangerous? Libertarian world's more dangerous. It's more dangerous.
Austin Peterson was just rolling 3 topics into one with that scenario. Okay, homosexuality, gay couple, drugs, marijuana farm, guns, machine guns. You know, when he said, I believe that gay couples should be able to defend their marijuana farms with fully automatic machine guns, baby. He was just saying, oh, you should be able to have whatever relationship you want. You should be able to take whatever drug you want, and you should be able to have whatever guns you want. At least whatever guns. The WMD's, I'm not so sure what his position is on that, but definitely guns. You can own whatever you want. So by mocking him and going, why do we need machine guns because weed is legal? Libertarian world is more dangerous. Libertarian world is more dangerous. You missed the whole point, okay? You missed the whole point. And it shows you know nothing about guns. Machine guns are bad. Oh my god. Weed is bad. Or maybe you support weed legalization. The Democrats do. You seem like a Democrat. You know, Democrats really support weed legalization in general. You seem to be like one of those guys. So maybe support weed, but you know, you definitely don't support machine gun ownership, which is sad because a gun is just a tool, even if it is a fully automatic select fire one. So your mockery doesn't really do a dent.
But the socially liberal side of libertarianism is less about a belief in civil rights being law and more that civil rights are less important than property rights.
Civil rights are property rights. Property is an extension of yourself since you own yourself, and thus you can also own things in relation to yourself, or you can own things in relationship to owning yourself. So it's definitely a civil right. Property rights are definitely civil rights, so I don't see how, but once you're getting your status, you separate the two. You've got false autonomy. It's like, they see civil rights as less important than property rights. No, they don't, because property rights are civil rights, and they see civil rights as very important. Even more so in an ANCAP society. Yeah, it's kind of weird view.
Listen to libertarian darling Senator Rand Paul explain his thoughts on the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
I like the Civil Rights Act in the sense that it ended discrimination in all public domains, and I'm all in favor of that.
But
you had to ask me the but. I don't like the idea of telling private business owners. I abhor racism. I think it's a bad business decision to ever exclude anybody from your restaurant. But at the same time, I do believe in private ownership.
Wow, I abhor racism, but that should definitely be the new libertarian slogan. Libertarianism. I abhor racism, but...
Okay, for starters, Rand Paul is not a libertarian. He is a Republican. Second, when he was talking about racism and the Civil Rights Act, he liked that this bureaucracy helped free people, at least allegedly, from racism. And he hates racism, but he doesn't think it should be done bureaucratically as it was with the Civil Rights Act. He thinks it should be done like socially, not making every business serve every customer. You know, allowing businesses to be discriminatory, but also allowing them to fail and lose profit as a result of such discrimination. He was talking about that. And your whole libertarian, we hate racism, thing he did was really cringy, because that's not what they're saying at all.
And this isn't just Rand Paul. Libertarians often deflect on questions of civil rights.
Mr. McAfee, would you have voted in favor of the 1964 Civil Rights Act had you been in the Senate?
As many of you know, my wife is black, and having spent 3.5 years living 24 hours a day with her, I can assure you that legislation in no way ended discrimination.
Certainly not in my home. I have my own whites-only bathroom. She's not allowed!
Wow, another straw man and another dumb mockery by Matt and LIEb. McAfee was basically saying, you know, bureaucracy doesn't really work to stop racism, to stop anything, so he was basically answering no, he wouldn't have signed the Civil Rights Act to stop racism. And the whole jab that since he has a black wife and answered the way he did, that he has a whites only bathroom and she isn't allowed to use it, mockery, was once again cringy. It was cringy, man.
So it's clear that libertarianism represents the furthest right-wing fringe of economic conservatism. They're basically like the Stalinists of the right. They're like that tanky Facebook friend you have that keeps sending you those Mao Zedong memes.
Libertarianism is not right-wing. It's not communism. It's just minarchy, plain and simple. Okay, Matt? Okay? How is a libertarian like a tanky? That makes no sense. Oh God, it's the end of the video. It's near the end of the video, and we're still in for a lot of cringe.
The only difference is that unlike your one lonely tanky friend, there are literally millions of libertarians. In fact, 1 out of 10 Americans identifies as a libertarian. Think about that. If 1 out of 10 Americans describe themselves as believers of the Juche religion of North Korea, the United States would declare a state of emergency. But no, these people are fine because they don't worship Kim Jong-un, they worship Kim Jong-un Rand. Kim Jong-un Rand, they worship Ayn Rand. The joke is good. It's a good pun.
Deep breaths. Matt, that joke was fucking horrible. It was incoherent and unfunny, okay? Libertarians don't support Ayn Rand, okay? They don't. Ayn Rand herself was against libertarianism / minarchy and anarchy. She was against both. Her objectivism doesn't support those two political philosophies. The joke was bad, Matt. The joke was bad. The pun, you know, that doesn't even make sense. It was bad. Your joke sucked.
So how did such a fringe political ideology gain so much ground in America? Well, not shockingly, it turns out that libertarianism is very popular with the very rich, specifically among the political donor class. There's Peter Thiel, the Silicon Valley billionaire and Trump supporter. There's Richard Mellon Scaife, the libertarian billionaire who, along with Thiel and the Koch brothers, helped to fund the anti-taxation party, the Tea Party. You remember them. The guys who swept into power in 2010 and made John McCain look appealing. And of course there's the Koch brothers, both lifelong libertarians. Before they became the Statler and Waldorf of our political puppet show, David Koch was actually the libertarian candidate for vice president in 1980. They've spent decades using their money to drastically lower personal and corporate taxes, cut social services for the needy, and end government oversight of industry, especially environmental regulation. Oh, and of course, donating like crazy to Republicans.
Matt LIEb logic. Not being libertarian and contributing funds to the Tea Party and the Republican Party makes it so he contributes to the Libertarian Party. That's his logic. And libertarians aren't supported by the rich. Who's supported by the rich are the Democrats and Republicans. So I don't see how not being a libertarian and supporting the Tea Party and Republican Party, as well as the Republican and Democrat parties and the Tea Party being supported by the rich, or the Libertarian Party being supported by the rich. I don't see it.
And all that could in part explain why Republican presidential candidates now sound just as unhinged as libertarians. First, let's listen to some of the libertarians running for president.
We would abolish the Federal Department of Education.
So you would have no EPA?
Pardon?
You would have no environmental
definitely
protection
have no EPA.
agency.
Absolutely, sir.
So let's abolish the IRS.
All right, and now let's listen to some recent Republican candidates for president.
I believe we should abolish the Federal Department of Education.
I would abolish the Department of Education.
We get rid of the IRS.
I would abolish the Department of Energy, which has failed totally since the mid-1970s.
Right away.
I'm going to cut big Department of Education.
Yeah, me cut education big.
Those organizations suck, and cutting them and replacing them with free market alternatives would be wonderful. And yet you act like they work, and that the free market sucks apparently, because, you know, that's you.
While Trump has yet to actually abolish any departments, he has appointed Betsy DeVos, an anti-public school billionaire, and Scott Pruitt, a climate change denier who constantly sued the EPA as Attorney General, to head them, which is essentially like putting a time bomb in both departments. And while Republicans aren't asking us to donate to some sort of voluntary grandma fund, Republican plans for social programs include work requirements for Medicaid, cutting Social Security, and privatizing Medicare, which is like meeting libertarians in the middle of the libertarian platform.
The libertarian plans for social programs are still better than Republican plans for social programs. Republicans want to cut here, and here, you know, where libertarians just want to scrap the whole system entirely, okay? That's the point.
Side note, why does their logo look like a sewer lid?
It has a Statue of Liberty on the front. Why do you think it looks like a sewer lid? Is it just because it's circle? You might not need to get your eyes checked, Matt. You know, in addition to your brain. If you're gonna say stuff like that.
These libertarian free market ideals are even catching on in liberal Silicon Valley. And that's because many of the billionaires at the top of the food chain are self-described libertarians like Thiel or Elon Musk and former Uber CEO Travis Kalanick. Libertarians have formed a symbiotic relationship with liberal tech companies because they offer capitalist solutions to problems that are largely caused by capitalism.
The free market didn't cause those problems. Capitalism doesn't cause no problem. The government caused those problems. Oh god, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's really showing.
The model of the future is Uber. It's Uber everything. It's Uber accountant, it's Uber doctor, it's Uber electrician, it's Uber plumber.
Does anyone else think that sounds suspiciously similar to the Gallbladders R Us plan? I'm pretty sure Gary Johnson just has one plan.
Actually, Matt, it sounds nothing like your pseudo-intellectual mockery of the free market and Gary Johnson's take on it. It's really nice to have options when it comes to getting the goods or service. So, what are you on about?
The libertarian ideology has been pulling mainstream politics to the right for decades now. This belief that the free market is God is now so deeply embedded in our politics that liberals, who define themselves as being against racism, sexism, and classism, now completely ignore the role of capitalism in creating racism, sexism, and classism.
Libertarianism is still pretty damn small, and capitalism is just voluntary association between an employee and an employer. I don't see how that causes all these problems you mentioned, unlike government, which does.
When you ignore the effects of someone's economic beliefs that lead to discriminatory practices because that person says they're socially liberal, you end up looking at people like Rand Paul and going, he's basically Malcolm X. I mean, he's fiscally conservative, but socially Malcolm X.
Not really relevant, but okay.
And while libertarian ideology made the Democratic Party more corporatist, it's made the Republican Party into Ayn Rand's wet dream.
Whoa, what are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? The Libertarian Party did not make the Democratic Party more corporatist, or the Republican Party into Ayn Rand's wet dream, as you so idiotically claim.
Look, I'm not saying that the Republican Party has gone full libertarian, okay? So before someone from Reason Magazine sees this and has a actually stroke, please, just relax, take a breath, rub your copy of Atlas Shrugged, and squeeze your Milton Friedman Dakimakura body pillow. America will never go full libertarian because going full libertarian isn't what libertarian billionaires are shooting for.
Matt, LIEb, people that call you out aren't having strokes or stroking Atlas Shrugged. books, or having a Milton Friedman pillow. Those are just insults. I don't know why you even do this show if you're just gonna spread misinformation. It's just sad.
Libertarian candidates talk a big game about individual freedoms like gay marriage and legalized drugs, but the libertarian donor class is happy to throw the social part of their platform under the bus to get their economic goals fulfilled. Listen, I don't hate libertarians, okay? Some of my best parents are libertarians, and I actually kind of respect their idealism and the stringency of their beliefs. You know, the same way I respect the idealism and stringency of the Branch Davidians or ISIS.
So you do hate libertarians because you've been spreading all this misinformation about them, as well as insulting them at every turn. Oh god, this guy is numbing my brain and really tiring me out, but hey, I'm gonna let him to go.
But just like any fringe radical group, we probably should not let them so close to the reins of power. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. My name's Matt LIEb. Follow me on Twitter, and you know what? Why don't you subscribe right now to our YouTube page and follow us on Facebook. And you know what? Go ahead and go in the comment section and please just get into endless arguments with the libertarians that will be trolling our page. It's going to be disastrous. But you know what? It's the free market, baby. Woo!
Oh god. Yeah, we're finally at the end, and that's Matt LIEb. That's Matt LIEb for you, spreading misinformation, insults, straw mans, saying, oh, get into argument with the libertarians in the comments. Okay, then there's that. Like, oh, my opponents are wrong, and you can smack them just because they are, kind of mentality. NewsBroken indeed.